Welcome to Buckets, coming to you from the Tommy John Home Studios. My name's Matt Moore. I'm the senior NBA writer for the Action Network, joined by Brandon Anderson. He's the NBA futures analyst. You can catch him on Twitter and then the Action Network app at Wheaton Brando. And Bryan Fonseca from the Action Network NBA side, as well as all combat sports. You can catch him at Bryan Fonseca MY on Twitter in the app, as well as on his YouTube page at Bryan Fonseca, where he does shows. He's also on the New York Post he does watch-alongs for the Knicks game. So if you listen to this, and you're a Knicks fan, like so many of you are, because much like Lakers fans, you're cockroaches that go everywhere. No, I'm just kidding. I love you guys. You can catch Bryan on those live shows. Today we're going to do best bets for Tuesday, April 29th in the NBA playoffs. We'll give you sides, totals, props, the whole shebang, some trends, some interesting stuff. Brandon has a play that absolutely blew Bryan and I's minds when he gave it out. So we're excited to get into that. Well, everything we talk about can be found in the award-winning Action Network app. Best way for you to track your picks, up to the second information where the bets and money are coming in. Our pro subscription, you're going to get stuff like, there's signals on this that indicate that the sharp money is coming in on this side, even if the money is on the other side. The information is always really interesting to put into your handicapping. Buckets live this week, Wednesday, Thursday, Sunday. We're going to do it Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday most weeks, but the Nuggets play on Tuesday night, and I'm the only one that can host the live show. So no show Tuesday night. Wednesday, Thursday, Sunday are going to be our Buckets lives. We're getting like a really good audience there. The folks that came out for our Sunday night show were great. Like, you can send us your best bets, and I will have our analysts give their thoughts on what your bets are. So we'll talk about those live on Buckets Live. Make sure to check it out. It's a great way to connect with us, which we like to see you guys. Okay. Before we do best bets, Brandon Anderson, as we are wont to do on Mondays, is going to give us kind of a reset of where the series are. And this week, Brandon, you want to give I love this very Brandon-esque segment of you're going to evaluate how impressed you are with the series favorites currently as we enter this week, the final week of first round play in the NBA playoffs.
Yeah, let's just say that I texted you this idea approximately 10-15 minutes after Knicks Pistons played on Sunday afternoon. If you're wondering where the idea came from, it came from there. So, yeah, we're going to rank the teams that are leading the series. So we're ranking officially 9. We're going to rank both the Clippers and Nuggets. Only one series at 2-2. Maybe we'll have another as we record. We could get Warriors Rockets 2-2. I know, Matt, you lean that direction. You guys already covered that one. Listen to the episode from Sunday night for that one. But we're going to rank all the teams by least to most impressed. And starting at number 9, because I can't start at number 100 or number 10,000 or any other number infinity, are the New York Knicks, who are not even a series leader. They're a series leader because the referees handed them a game on a foul that the entire world agrees is a foul, including Knicks fans who are like, well, I mean, it's a foul, but let's not call it there. That would be kind of lame. Heaven forbid you would have a player on your team try to grift a foul. We would know nothing about that sort of thing. Why would we want that to happen in a professional basketball game? That game is taken away. THJ gets 3 free throws with zeros on the clock. He's going to hit at least 2 of those. That is a loss to a win. Get all the way out of here with the Cat Legacy game. He is 5 of 16 on 2s in that game. Great. He made a couple circus shots at the end. Jalen Brunson's been grifting all series. Tibbs sucks and is somehow the better coach in the series because JB, my goodness, JB, what are you doing, my man? In a series that's been 4 coin flip games so far, JB is still managing to flip a coin on the side a couple of times. I don't know how you're pulling it off. The Knicks have no bench. They have no depth. They should not be leading the series. And the series results so far, Detroit could not only be tied, they could be leading the series or have swept the Knicks out of the playoffs. The Knicks are fraudulent frauds and are last by a mile with several teardrops before the other teams. Matt Moore, what do you think?
Hey, Siri, remind me to tell social to clip Brandon's Knicks rant. Got that done. Just got that done there. Yeah. So, look, I will say, actually, this is really good contextual data, I thought, from my friend Seth Partnow, who's worked for NBA teams. He's worked in analytics. He's worked for The Athletic before. Matchup data has Tobias Harris as the primary defensive matchup on Cat 41 times to Duran's 10 through the first 3 quarters. In the first 3 quarters, the Knicks' offensive rating with Karl Anthony Towns was 83.6. Horrible. In the fourth quarter, Duran had the assignment 17 times, Tobias Harris just once. The offensive rating for the Knicks with Karl Anthony Towns in the fourth quarter, 143. So
Harris was in foul trouble too.
That switch up. You mentioned JB Bickerstaff. I pulled this morning from pivotfade.com, which is a great site that gives you stuff like runs. You can actually look at what the runs were throughout the game. In this series in the fourth quarter, the Pistons have given up a 21-0 run, a 16-4 run, a 9-2 run, and in the fourth quarter of Game 4, a 16-5 run. It's a combination of the everyone just goes, oh, that's the experience. That's why you have a coach to take time out and get you settled and get you a bucket and get things back on track. And the fact that JB has struggled with this is really frustrating, I think, if you're a Pistons bettor. I had Knicks in this series, but I had over 5.5 games, so I'm not going to hit it there either because I think the Knicks probably win in this last game. And that's really frustrating because it's like, oh, I thought the Knicks offense was going to be better. I thought the Pistons would be able to get another one when they've been in 3 of these 4 games. I mean, it's a tough one, I think, for Pistons bettors. I have empathy and sympathy. I'm curious, Fonseca, before I give my rating, where would you have the Knicks on a 1 to 5 scale, with 1 being not at all impressive and 5 being impressive?
Maybe a 2 at most, just because like they've been able to close out some of these games. But as Brandon mentioned, the fourth one, I thought there was going to be a foul there. There wasn't. I get why there's not, to be fair. Like the officiating in that game, they weren't calling very much. Like dudes were trying to get calls. They weren't calling a ton. And I thought that they called it pretty evenly, all things considered. At the same time, in Game 1, the Pistons outplayed the Knicks for 3 quarters and then gave up that run in the fourth, where you want to talk about miracles, like Karl Anthony Towns' miracle shot. Cam Payne not missing a shot early on in the fourth quarter and sort of lifting them to a run. And we haven't seen much from Cam Payne since, by the way. Like he's played, but sparingly, and has not been nearly as impactful. In fact, 2 games since he's played single-digit amount of minutes, maybe in all 3. And Jalen Brunson, obviously, he didn't miss a shot either in that initial run, and that's where people chalk it up to inexperience, but also the Knicks just made a ton of shots. And then in Game 2, Detroit nearly collapsed again, actually gave up a lead, and the Knicks tied it up, but Detroit was able to withstand even the Knicks generating a good shot at the end of regulation, where Mikal Bridges is wide open at the top of the key for 3, but Mikal Bridges hasn't hit a ton of threes in this series. He is 8 for 25, actually. So that's not very good at all. And then in Game 3, it felt like the Pistons had a chance in that one too, because that game was very close. They lose that one, and then Game 4 happens, and I felt like the Pistons really could have gotten both at home. So yeah, I think with the Knicks, they've been able to close, but really it's been a lot more Jalen Brunson centric at times than I expected. Like people can look at Karl Anthony Towns, who's played better since that first half, where he was an absolute second half where he was an absolute ghost in Game 2. He's played better in the 2 games since, but you're still watching Jalen Brunson. He's gotten 100 field goal attempts exactly in the first 4 games of this series. It's 25 per game, and next on the team is Karl Anthony Towns with 66. So it has like I think if you're a good team, you figure out ways to win even when you don't play your best. But against the Pistons, you should probably be doing a little bit more than that, or maybe a lot bit more than that.
I can't say anything about the foul because Russell Westbrook fouled Nickeil Alexander-Walker on a 3-pointer after the clock was off. Or no, with like 0.1 on the clock in a great game, and I was like ranting. I was like, you can't decide a game on that call. You can't have that awesome game come down to that call. And so now I'm boxed in to being like, I mean, it was a foul, but like, do you really want to? And like, so it's a no-win situation for me. If that's the Knicks are number 15 or whatever, who's number 8 on your list, Brandon?
Well, and the thing too, just to add, if the Pistons in an imaginary world were leading the series, if they're up 3-1, I would have the Pistons 9th on the list also. Like, I think part of the reason that the Knicks have to be ranked low is I'm not really been that impressed with the Pistons either. They have not been as good as what the metrics look like. The defense has not held up, certainly Duran getting way too much time, though I'd really love to see some more Isaiah Stewart. Like, I don't know if we're going to get him again. Definitely that's a big part of the cap that I had coming to the series. He was questionable game 4. They need him out there to get a little more defense. Like you said, Tobias has been a way better defending Cat.
Yes.
Detroit's not ready for this yet. The fact that you have Dennis Schroeder out there playing clutch minutes that Brunson is just picking on down the stretch, like that's the reason the Knicks keep going on these runs as much as anything. So it just, to me, that is the fraud off series. That's the 8 versus 9 March Madness bracket where it's like, oh, we're all having a real blast here, but then like we're going to get to the real game soon. So everyone enjoy yourselves, and the rest of the real playoffs are happening on the other channel. So enjoy that too. Speaking of which, their next opponent, after some other teardrops here, number 8 is the Boston Celtics. Celtics I have not been thoroughly impressed with so far. They're playing close games. They're not really playing Celtics basketball, aka they're not getting their threes up. Good on the Magic. We said that about the matchup coming in. Porzingis has not really been very good yet. Right now, 4 of the top 5 guys on the Celtics are injured. Drew's not playing. Porzingis doesn't really look healthy the way that he's playing. Tatum missed a game. Jaylen Brown is Jaylen Brown. Still no left hand. Still got the knee thing going on. He's been pretty good in this series, but that knee is not going to go anywhere. The Magic just can't score. Like, to me, losing the series 3-1, that's about them. We care so little about this series that, like, this is the only time we were talking about this game, even though it's one of our 4 games that we're previewing for tomorrow. It's fine. The Magic are whatever. The Celtics are going to win the series. It's probably going to be over with this game. I haven't been impressed by them, and I'm a little worried, Matt, because I want to just hammer Celtics against Knicks next round, but all the injuries and the not impressed, like, I don't know. I'm not so sure that we should be feeling great about Boston.
Can I interest you in Evan Mobley, Eastern Conference Finals MVP? That's where you need to get to, buddy. I'll just say I'm actually a little bit more impressed with the Celtics. I'll give them not a 4. I'll give them like a 3. They have a 117 offensive rating, and it doesn't feel like it because so many of these games have gone under. That's really good. Now, when you dive in, here is what has happened. The Magic have taken away the threes. We nailed it. We nailed that part of the cap. They absolutely did not allow them to take as many threes. Unfortunately, when the Celtics do shoot them, the Celtics are like, what if we just shot 39%? Like, their high quality looks on, if they get an open look, they have knocked down each and every one of them, and that's held them up. They're not like shooting an outlier percentage. It's not super high. It's just good enough to where even on reduced volume, that gives you an edge. The Magic have also not allowed them to take that many shots at the rim. They have the 10th highest rim rate of any team in the playoffs. This is what I love about Orlando, is Orlando's like, we're going to play to the perimeter, and then we're going to scramble down and keep you from taking shots at the rim too. The problem is what you will give up when you do that is fouls. And Boston has the number 1 foul rate through the first round so far. And that's how they've held that 117 up, is they keep moving the ball. They don't get suckered into bad possessions. If a team is going to try and guard you on the perimeter and then scramble low, that means everybody's always moving. And if you just keep driving, kicking, somebody is going to tag you with a foul. And Boston has been very disciplined in doing that. They haven't turned the ball over. So even though Orlando has done the work of dragging down, maybe the ceiling of Boston's offensive, of what Boston can do offensively, the floor is still so high. And it's, the counter to this is obviously the Magic offense. But even if the Magic had a good offensive series, even if they were like at 115, you're still 2 points short. And that to me is why I think the Celtics deserve a lot of credit for their game plan discipline. Brian, what would you give the Celtics here?
Maybe also a 2, because
I
Brian, also think...
By the way, Brian was never going to get a score above a 2 for the Boston Celtics. They could have swept the Magic by 100 points, and Brian would be like, "Yeah, not impressed."
Yeah, this is one where it's like, man, if Jalen Suggs were healthy, I think this is 2-2 going back to Boston.
4th straight Eastern Conference series where they're playing a team missing one of their 3 best players. Mm-hmm. Just like, they can't keep getting away with this.
Except for the fact that in the next round, they're going to get gimpy Jalen Brunson, who knows when he's finally going to miss a game at some point. We don't know. But the Celtics do have some injuries, which is not concerning yet, but it's something to monitor. They're getting away with it against the Orlando Magic,
Yeah.
and they've destroyed the Knicks shorthanded before. So maybe it's not going to be a factor yet. We'll see what happens if and when they eventually take on Cleveland. The thing that's been surprising to me in this series is, and it shouldn't have been surprising, but like Boston has one of the worst free throw rates in the NBA. They don't get to the line a ton relative to most teams, but they've gotten to the line a ton because Orlando fouls a lot. And one thing that's really just annoyed me with this series is it's encapsulated by this quote from Jaylen Brown on Friday night, who says there might be a fight breakout or something because it's starting to feel like it's not even basketball and the refs are not controlling the environment. So it is what it is. If you want to fight it out, we can do that. We can fight to see who goes to the second round. And basically, they're complaining about the physicality of this series.
Yeah,
to which I'm like,
they have been whiny. There's a lot of teams that you're finding out just like are not like. This makes a lot of sense because the Celtics didn't face any adversity last year. So this is like, why is this hard? I just want it to be easy. Why isn't it easy like last year? We just shot a bunch of threes.
Right.
And
This is like when Gervonta Davis complains about being set up by Floyd Mayweather because he has to fight fucking Jose Pedraza for a title in like the 17th pro fight of his career, where instead Gervonta Davis actually wants to fight like B-level fighters like Frank Martin and never fight somebody at his level. The Celtics are seemingly don't want to play somebody at their level. Is that what it is? Like, I don't get it. Like, why is the physicality from Orlando so bothersome? Like, what else is Orlando going to do? They have Paolo Banchero trying to do everything. Franz Wagner is doing his best. And it's like Wendell Carter and Anthony Black is playing. We're getting a lot of Anthony Black this series. Like, what is Orlando supposed to do? And it's the playoffs. It's supposed to be physical. I like the physicality. Like, if you're going to play a team, if you're going to play a finesse team, you have to push them around. That's what the Pistons are trying to do with the Knicks, because the Knicks are a more talented team. And if you're the Pistons, God, if Isaiah Stewart were healthy. You know what? In fact, going back to that series real quick, there was a kerfuffle going on between Paul Reed and I think it was probably Karl Anthony Towns. And the camera, this was beautiful. They cut to Isaiah Stewart on the bench, just looking over, like, God
in
damn,
street
like,
clothes.
Yeah, he was like the wrestler who can't wrestle because they're injured, so they have to be a manager. And he's like, God, if somebody handed me a steel chair right now, I would hit Karl Anthony Towns over the head with this shit. Like, the Celtics, like, that's a little worrisome for me. If I'm the Knicks and if I'm Cleveland, especially because Cleveland could actually do this, like, you got to put that in your back pocket and be like, hey, there's some measure of physicality we can probably get to that they can't. I know, Matt, You're shaking your head, but like, listen, like, even if guys have to act out of character, like, that's something you have to try to do in this series.
The Knicks and Cavs are not made of that. Hang on real quick. Hey, Siri, remind Social about Brian and I's Celtics rant. Thank you. Okay, got that. Brandon, who's 7?
I'm going to do 7 and 6 together because they go together. I got Nuggets at 7. I got Clippers at 6. And I can't really make up my mind which should be higher, but I don't think either of them should be super higher. And I think if you squint a little bit and are being totally fair, you could argue that this might be the West version of Knicks Pistons and how it actually really matters in the big picture of things, especially as the series looks like it might be going 7 as the Thunder just sit and watch for the next week and wait for them. I do the Nuggets slightly lower on really this basis. We've had 3 games within 3 points.
Yep.
The one game that one team clearly won and had to win was the Clippers. So really on just that alone, like, you could argue the Clippers could have swept the series. It's right there for them. They could have swept and been home already. You can't argue the Nuggets could have swept. They were going to at least lose the one game. So I'm giving the Clippers the nod above. I haven't been super too impressed with either team. Jokic has been incredible, obviously, always. Kawhi, we all like did the reverse funeral thing after game 2 and we're all super excited. He's not really been that great, honestly. Like, he had the one great game, not been that great. He had one pretty bad game. I think James Harden's honestly been better for the series than Kawhi. And I don't think Harden's been that great or like vintage Harden or anything like that. I don't know. Everyone in the Nuggets, other than Jokic, is hurt and playing through injury, and I respect that. Aaron Gordon, obviously, like, shot of a lifetime. The camera frames that we can't even get the slow enough speed frame to see it off the fingertips. I don't even think this is a thing in NBA and NFL. That's one of those, the call in the field stands, because like, oh, well, we called it and there's no way we can tell what's happening here to be sure. I don't know that I should feel super worried about either of these teams making a big run right now. I saw a lot of talk about at Clippers up 2-1, a lot of talk in the timeline of like, man, the Clippers, they're really the number 2 team in the West. This team is built for a run. I don't know. I don't feel like we were seeing that. And again, maybe we'd feel different with a couple little coin flip outcomes and they swept and be like, man, they swept Jokic right out of the playoffs. But they didn't, though. And to be fair, neither do the Pistons. The Knicks are getting over the line, too. It's got to go both ways. But just kind of feels like the Clippers. It sort of feels like the Clippers are just clipping around and giving games away. And I feel like we kind of know where it's going to head with them.
My only comment is that I think the Clippers have shown that they are clearly the better team, but they are also not the mentally toughest team in the series. This is not a team that is led. This team's leadership is not good. And so it's just, you know, the Nuggets have a connection and they have togetherness, and the Clippers have like a better, honestly, roster, which given with their win total out this season was really impressive. Like they've been really great. And both these teams I think are good, but they're both flawed enough that, yeah, like I'm expecting the Thunder to jump up and down on heads next round. And then there's always plot twists, but that's what it looks like. That's the best analysis I can give from here. Bryan, 1 to 5. What do you give the Nuggets and then the Clippers?
I feel like I want to give Denver like a 2.5. It's not quite where the Knicks are. It's slightly like lower than average in terms of how, like, I'm slightly
how is
lower.
It that everybody wanted Clippers. The Nuggets are tied 2-2, and they're the one that comes out less impressive here. But
well, I would say Clippers 3 relative to, well, I had Denver in the series, and I don't feel as good about it now.
Yeah, no one feels as good about their pre-series bet. That's what's great about this series.
Now, it was Nuggets in 7, and I mean, Nikola Jokic, obviously, like, he has to do a lot, which, you know, that was the fear going into this, but it's even more. And with the Clippers, like, I think, Matt, you nailed it, where they have all these components to where I'm like, man, a series with Oklahoma City with them is interesting. The problem is, and even though they closed well against Denver up until the very last play where Aaron Gordon hits one of the greatest buzzer beaters I've ever seen in my life, that dunk, just the presence of mind, just turn it into an alley-oop essentially, and to get it through. But that saved what could have been a 3-1 deficit if this goes to overtime and the Clippers are at home and they have all that momentum, which I do think momentum exists, and they have all of that built up from a run late in the fourth quarter where they turned us around. To me, I would say Clippers 3, Nuggets 2.5, because I feel neutral about the Clippers in totality, but a little bit better about them now than I would have pre-series, and a little bit lower on Denver than I was pre-series. But I also don't think that should be a surprise, because I've always been skeptical of Michael Porter Jr. In a lot of different playoff matchups, and having to rely on him is just a scary proposition. But the Clippers on a day-to-day basis, I feel like I'm always walking on eggshells believing in Kawhi Leonard and James Harden.
I mean, give MPJ a lot of credit, man. That shoulder injury is pretty severe. He's not able to take his jersey off post game, and he's still getting out there and firing up shots and making them. I was pretty impressed with Mike in that game. Okay, so that's 8-7. What's 6, Brandon?
Yeah, I'm just glad MPJ is willing to take the shot. 5 and 4. I'm gonna take a teardrop here down to 5, 4, 3, 2. I'm gonna do 5 and 4 together, just because I don't think there's a lot to say about either of these teams. 5 is the Cleveland Cavaliers. I think you could argue that they maybe should be higher. The Cavs for the series are at a 136 offensive rating through 3 games. 136 with a 62% EFG. Now look, sorry, Bryan. The Cavs are playing by far the worst team in the playoffs. They're playing the first 10 seed ever in the playoffs. That's just the reality. But they're taking care of business. And I know in games 1 and 2, I kind of dumped on them like, still like close into the fourth quarter. The game 3 win, going to Miami and just like taking care of business. So what you got to do is the 1 seed. So I'm giving them some credit. This, by the way, we've broken into the tier of like, I'm actually impressed with you so far. So good on the Cavs. Number 4 is the Pacers. Again, I don't feel like there's been a lot of hard work that the Pacers have had to do. I thought actually game 4 last night with the Dame injury, which just sucks for everyone involved. That takes the wind out of the sails for the other team also. And credit to the Pacers for just taking care of business. They just finished the job on the road in Milwaukee, up 3-1, Dame out, series is over. They could have swept the series had it not been for Gary Trent Jr. just going lights on fire for a quarter. And again, not real high in the Bucks, not real surprise. We all thought the Pacers were going to do it, but again, you got to actually do it. And Pacers, Cavs offenses have been both every bit as good as we thought that they would be against not a lot of defensive competition, but you got to do the thing. So Cavs 5, Pacers 4.
I have no complaints. I bailed on the Bucks after game 1 after realizing that Doc Rivers was coaching them. I am probably a little bit more impressed with Cleveland. That game 3 performance was really impressive to me. For you to just go in there and snuff out any hope, to not mess around, to not screw around, to not have the South Beach flu, to not give them the gentleman, like just to be, nope. Like, hey, you hung around last game. We paid attention. Here you go. Without Darius Garland, that to me, that was we always talk about like you were not serious people, right? From Succession. Like that was a serious performance by the Cavs. And it's like, well, yeah, they should, because it's the Heat and they're terrible. That's what I'm telling you is in the NBA, those are hard games. When you're facing someone you don't take seriously, it's hard to win. That to me was an impressive performance by them. So I agree. And I got no complaints on the Pacers. I've been impressed. I have to be impressed by them because I didn't think they were going to win the series. And they've been like, I was all year. I hate how the matchups wound up because a lot of teams that I liked all year and was like, hey, watch out for this team. The Pacers, the Wolves wound up in matchups where I was like, oh no. And instead it's like, no, they're just good. Like you talked about all year. Brian, very quickly, give me your ratings for Pacers and Cavs.
Cavs 3, because not much has changed, but I think they can win the title. You know, like I thought that going into this, and I feel the same about it. I thought they could have potentially dropped one by now, and they haven't. They would still a Heat run, but I also think to Brandon's point, I mean, this Heat team is the worst that they've had in years. They have the worst number 1 in the postseason, and they may give him a max contract. So we'll see how that goes. Bam and Davion Mitchell are doing what they can.
Yeah,
that's what I can say. They're doing what they can on both ends of the floor, and I suppose Tyler is offensively at least. Indy 4, because I think a series with Indy and Cleveland has more so piqued my interest now than before. Now, I don't know. I'm not saying Indy could win that series, but I don't know how stunned I would be if that were to happen as high as I am on Cleveland. I would probably lean Cleveland, but I think that could be a 6 or 7 gamer. And one of the things, so Matt was actually on my YouTube channel when we previewed every playoff series basically, but Bucks, Pacers in particular. And we both liked some of the things Milwaukee was doing going into it, but we both said, this feels like a series where like maybe it goes long, but it feels like a series where one team could quickly figure out the other and just beat the shit out of them. And this is over in 5. Indiana. And this was all in the premise of like, is it going to be Giannis versus everybody, or is Indiana going to be too much? And Indiana is evidently too much. They figured out Milwaukee. They've been beating the shit out of them for most of this series. And I'm really come away with like, all right, like Indiana, there's a world where we get Pacers, Celtics again in the Eastern Conference Finals. That isn't that crazy to me. So I would say Pacers 4. I would still favor the Cavs in that series, and I still like the Cavs. Really, I think they can come out of the East, but I think Indiana's legit. And I would say if we got Pacers Knicks again, which we're not gonna get, but if there was a world where these two would face off, the Pacers would be and should be favored in that series.
I ran numbers on Cavs Pacers this morning to look ahead. I'm gonna lose so much money on that series. It's going to be so painful. It's going to be so bad based off of power rating. It's going to be so bad. Can't wait to preview it with Brandon Anderson later this week. All right, Brandon, that's 6 and 5 or 5 and 4? 3.
All right. I think you're going to push back on this one, and I might push back on it myself. I'm fluid in this tier. We made it to the Warriors. I did not expect the Warriors to be number 3 on the list. It does not necessarily feel like the Warriors have been that impressive, but let me make the case. Game 3 was a huge, huge win for the Warriors, missing Jimmy Butler, who has been fantastic when playing. And if you are a 7 seed missing your second best player, you are not like, that's death. You're out. That's it. Mm-hmm. That's the end of the playoffs for you. And every other 7 seed missing your second best player, you're done. We're not talking about you anymore. The Warriors are up 2-1. Steph Curry had one of the best games all around in his playoff career in game 3 without Butler, not just hitting all the shooty hoop threes, but setting up teammates, controlling the game against an elite defense that has impressed me this series, Houston's defense. And Steph was awesome. The Warriors are probably up 3-0 in a series if it's not Jalen Green hitting 8 threes out of the blue in game 2, which, that's what Jalen Green does. He's going to do that like once a month and then miss all the other shots. Draymond has been not good. Defense amazing. Offense just putrid. Pods has not been good. The Warriors are playing dudes that we don't even know who they are. We're grabbing guys out of the stands to put minutes in actual NBA playoff series that's still close. The Warriors defense is the real deal, and the Rockets can't score at all in the series unless Jalen Green hits all the threes. I don't really feel like the Warriors should be the third most impressive team, but it's the 7th seed missing its second best player leading a series.
Yeah, it's like a 2. It's like a 2 for me. Congratulations. Congratulations, Dylan Brooks and Fred VanVleet and Jalen Green and Amen Tom. Congratulations. The offense we knew was terrible, can't score. Steph was great in that game. You said setting up teammates. Not really. It's mostly just that game 3 was literally Gary Payton II and Steph, and that was it. And it's just so I am more disappointed in Houston, and this is not just because I bet Houston out of principle before the series. It's just guys, the bar here is so low. It's so low for you to have enough offense to beat this team. And the Rockets are oh, but it's all the way up there. They cannot do it. Ime Udoka, I think, deserves a lot of criticism for not playing Jabari Smith Jr., bailing on him in this series when it's a good matchup for him. I'm being stubborn about the Warriors, and if they make the conference finals, they make the conference finals. You're going to be wrong sometimes, and I'm willing to be wrong on the Warriors. I'm still not impressed. Brian, are you impressed with the Warriors?
I at least think they can beat the Wolves, is where I'm at.
Okay.
I don't know how confident I would be. That's a series I want to take a deep dive into. Assuming the Wolves
won the season series. I'll check, but yeah.
This is assuming the Wolves actually finish off the Lakers, which I think they will, but we know that we're expecting this to go at least 6, and from there, who knows? So I don't think it's a given. Regardless, I would say 3.5, maybe 3, somewhere along those lines. Maybe I feel slightly better about them than I did pre-series, because there was a world where, and I assume Jimmy would miss a game at some point in the playoffs because he just does. No one lands on their ass harder in the NBA than Jimmy Butler does. He has bruised his tailbone multiple times. As soon as he fell, I'm that's at least a game. There was one time, actually, when he was with the Heat that he fell on his ass and he sat for 2 weeks. He was out for 2 weeks. That's how painful it was. I don't know. I didn't think this Houston team would win this series. And look, they're not dead yet. They still could. But Golden State's defense it looks good. Granted, it's against a team that has trouble scoring, but they're not quite the Orlando Magic. And, Minnesota has their dry spells also. And I have questions about Minnesota still, because I don't have much respect at all for the Lakers defense. And it's what happens in that matchup if we get Timberwolves and Warriors? So I would say 3.5-ish.
Outside Jimmy Butler, the 3 Warriors with the lowest and best defensive rating for the Golden State Warriors on court. Draymond Green, no, that's not him. No. Kevon, no, it's not him either. Quentin Post, Brandon Pajemski, and Buddy Hield. This is the Rockets offense. That's what this is. But agree to disagree. Brandon, give me number 2.
Again, the tier is fluid here. The real takeaway here is that I got a clear number 1, and it's really the only team I'm genuinely, truly impressed with. I did not think my number 2 would be number 2 on the list either. I thought they'd be 6th. It's the Oklahoma City Thunder, who barely escaped out of Memphis with 2 by the skin of their teeth wins. But here's the case. Memphis is a pretty good team. Memphis is not the Miami Heat. Memphis has a lot more talent there, and the Thunder defense made the Grizzlies look like a JV team. Jaren Jackson and Desmond Bane had nightmare series. Just nothing. Like, Memphis did nothing outside of Ja. Ja had a couple nice times. That's about it. They could not score at all. And Shea had a miserable shooting series, which at first I was ready to be like, I don't know, you're struggling to beat the 8 seed and Shea can't score. I'm going the other way. Shea's going to be fine. Shea missed some shots. He's going to be fine. He had 3 subpar games as the MVP, and they just blitzed right through Memphis like they weren't even there. You have to be impressed with that. You have to be impressed with up 2-0 on the road, down by 4,000, and they're like, let's win this game too, actually. Let's go ahead and finish this out right now. J-Dub, only 4 games, 23-5-5. The defense has been awesome, like we knew. 65% on 13 twos a game. Man, if he can keep that up, this is the thing. This is the question mark we've all had circled about OKC all year. Who's the second star? Is one of these guys, is it J-Dub? Are they going to trade him for a real second star? You're not trading that for a real second star if that's what he is. And I had to chuckle at this. Just 4-game sample in probably like 80 minutes. I know how we think about box plus minus, especially defensive box plus minus. Alex Caruso, my goodness. Like, we talk about guys who go in at the end of the game and take over games. Alex Caruso legitimately is taking over games on the defensive side of the ball. On defensive box plus minus, if you're a good defender, you're like a +2. If you're an elite defender, you're occasionally like a +3 for a season, and maybe semi-occasionally a +4. Alex Caruso, through 4 games of the playoffs, is at an 8.2 defensive box plus minus. He's broken the system. He has his steals, his hands, his deflections, like all the things he's doing are legitimately like getting buckets because he's just closing out games and shutting off the faucet. I think their defense has been every bit as good as it looked in the regular season. Again, against a real team with real talent. I don't think the Grizzlies are like world beaters, but there's a chance the Thunder are the only team that sweeps. Obviously, the Cavs can sweep tonight as we're recording, but this is a 1 seed taking care of business despite not even playing well from their star offensive player. And I think that this looks like the clear NBA champion favorite right now.
Kawhi leads the playoffs with deflections with 21 through 4 games. Caruso is second with 19. Tied
in half the minutes.
Yeah, tied with Josh Hart and OG Anunoby. And 1, 2, 3. 5th is actually Mikal Bridges. So Wingstop are 3, 4, 5.
Well, those guys are all playing like 48 minutes a game.
Yeah, it's 83 minutes for Caruso to 153 for Josh Hart. So, yeah,
against a Pistons team who keeps giving the ball to them over and over.
So, yeah, I mean, I'll only give OKC 3 because there was never any way for them to. I didn't think there was any way for them to exceed expectations in this series.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna knock them, right, for the games being close because I don't expect every team to blow out the bad opponent every time. If you do it, I'm actually like, hey, that's a really good job by you because it's easy to let down. I have no problem with like OKC having to win a couple of these games close. Memphis is a talented team with a lot of injuries and bad problems. They were in too rough of a shape physically, spiritually, mentally, emotionally for me to give the Thunder extra credit. I do agree with you on J-Dub, and I'm trying to like, part of the problem, I want to like look at J-Dub conference finals MVP, but whenever I start thinking about the matchups, it's so dependent on if they wind up versus Wolves or Warriors. It's like, that's a huge swing between those two. So by the way, Warriors are 5-2 this season straight up versus the Minnesota Timberwolves, their likely next round opponent, and the Oklahoma City Thunder, their conference finals likely opponent. So the number 1 team that you were most in. Oh, I didn't give Brian a chance. Brian, Thunder.
Yeah, I don't have much here. Probably a 3 just because. Like, what can you show me against Memphis? Like, the questions I still had about J-Dub will not be answered yet. The questions I've had about Chet Holmgren will not be answered yet because Memphis is
we do this where we're like, we do this with Kat, we do this with a bunch of other guys where it's like, okay, sure, it's first it's like, well, show me when the playoffs come, and then the playoffs come, and we're like, okay, sure, but show me versus the playoff series that I think you should.
I mean, to be fair, one team fired their coach right before this, and they're spiraling, and the other one is like just
Hey,
young and hasn't
look,
been here.
shout out J-Dub, because J-Dub over 4.5 assists was the official buckets play of the first round.
Yes.
Shout out to J-Dub, because over 20.5 to over 21.5 points was my like official play of the first round. I hit it every time.
Yeah.
So thanks for coming. Forget home.
Let me
Mine
ask
was
you
over
guys
9.5 and 10.5 of rebounds assists. He hit that.
Let me ask you this: you've given lots of 2s and 3s on your scale of 5. We've talked about all but one series so far, so you can't talk about that series. Give me a one-word answer. Out of all the teams we talked about so far, who are you most impressed with? Because I agree, I don't really feel great. The Thunder and the Warriors are my top 2, other than my number 1. But you're not impressed with anybody either. Brian, who are you most impressed with out of all the teams we talked about?
Out of all the teams we talked about, it's the Pacers. Pacers easily, I think.
Matt?
Of all the teams we talked about.
Of the teams we've talked about, yeah, I would say Pacers. I have to, because I picked Bucks. Like, there's no way for me not to be like, and even though like I love the Pacers, I did not give them enough credit. They've been great, but
I had their over for win total.
The answer is your number 1 team, though. That's the answer here.
Yeah, I mean, the number 1 team has got to be the Minnesota Timberwolves. It's no question that is not why we did the exercise. The exercise was for the Knicks, just to be totally clear. But there's no other answer than the Timberwolves. And credit where it's due on guys. We all know that I'm a terrible Timberwolves fan. Julius Randle has been outstanding this series. Julius Randle has been so good. Naz Reid has been excellent. Naz Reid, especially late in games when they're sitting Rudy Gobert to play Naz to stretch the defense out. The Lakers weren't ready for that, and Naz is getting the open shots and hitting the open shots. Jaden McDaniels. I do, when I prep for series and prep for the playoffs, I kind of put, okay, here's your offense, here's your defense. You win if, and I list out what are the ways you win. And you win if Ant becomes a superstar like he does in the playoffs. And Ant has been the best player in a series with Luka and with LeBron. So obviously that's part of this here. But one of the things I listed is, what if Jaden takes that playoff leap again? We kind of forget, but he was really good last year in the playoffs too. And then he wasn't great again in the regular season. He kind of up and down, and he does the thing where he has one big game and then kind of disappears for a couple of weeks. It's only been a few games, but he's been really good. He's playing strong. He's hitting the glass. He's getting into the paint and finishing. When Randall and Jaden and when these guys are playing like this, and Ant is Ant, and doesn't get his leg rolled up, hopefully again, ever again, never, no thank you, let's not do that anymore. The Timberwolves are very impressive. The Timberwolves have to be a 5 out of 5. They are dismantling the Lakers right now. It's still 3-1. Got to finish the job. I'm always going to be afraid of the Lakers and LeBron, but they got to be number 1.
Brian, can I bet you that Brandon's going to take the Warriors in the next round? Can I do that right now? He's going to do that because he's like saying all these nice things about the Wolves, who he constantly craps on as his team. And when they face the Warriors, his pet team, the one he actually loves, he's absolutely taking the Warriors. We gotta get a pool going with the action, with the bucket guys on who Brandon's gonna take in Wolves versus Warriors.
To be fair though, Matt, Julius Randle does feel like a mobster who's out the game and got it together, but like at some point he'll be pulled back in and trying to do the Julius Randle things that frustrate a lot of people.
Man, you know what's weird? Luka's actually cooking Randle, but LeBron can't score on him.
Yeah.
It's like he's done a phenomenal job defending LeBron, which, like, to me, think about that. Julius Randle has done an awesome job defending LeBron James, but like, it's true. He's done a terrific job. Jaden, they've hid Luka on Jaden. Jaden is 13 of 21, 62% from the field, and 3 of 5 from 3 defended by Luka Doncic, according to NBA.com's admittedly wonky matchup data.
How many of those are backdoor cuts? Because Luka doesn't guard those.
A bazillion, a ton. But he's also just like, he's going right at him. What's up, Brandon?
Who's favored in the Warriors-Timberwolves series?
Okay, so this is interesting. Here's the problem. This is like a really interesting question, Brandon. If you look at the market and we look at some of these odds, the Warriors starting in after the Jimmy Butler trade, once they showed proof of life, started taking money because their odds have been disproportionate with where they've been in the standings consistently. Like, the Warriors are second favorites right now to win the Western Conference. It's Thunder minus 175, Warriors plus 650. conference finals MVP, it's Shea, obviously. Second highest is Steph. So the books, I think, have Warriors power rated above Wolves, but the Wolves would have home court.
Yeah. And recall, as we're recording this, the Warriors are only up 2-1, 3-1 for the Timberwolves, 2-1 for the Warriors. So they're a game further away also from advancing with Butler hurt.
So I think Warriors are going to be favored. I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be like, God, I don't think it'll be even. I think it'll be like Warriors minus 125, minus 150.
130.
But I think we're talking about that range versus anything. I don't think it goes above 150, but I do think Warriors are favored.
But it feels like a line that the Sharps could move toward Minnesota. Like it'll start off Warriors being favored, and then Minnesota could get a lot of money from the Sharps. And then
I'll be interested to see which side the Sharp books come in on, depending on how much. I don't know how much the Sharp action comes in on series price. Like those are markets where they'd rather just bet it game by game. So I don't know how much they're going to move it, but if they do move it, I'm going to be very curious to see where this thing moves.
I don't have a guess, but I'm gonna take the over on minus 150, meaning I think it could get to like 160, 175 range because we said, I don't know if we said the general consensus as they were going to face the Rockets is, I don't know, I think the Warriors might be favored over the Rockets, and then it opened at like minus 200.
Yeah,
and they were clear big favorites, and the numbers you just gave, Matt, with them as conference, like the not Oklahoma City bet of conference winner and MVP and all that, if they're that clearly favored already there right now in a series, missing still Butler, and like they could just lose the series very easily still. Like that is not a done deal. The Rockets have played them close most of the way. I think the Warriors will be pretty clear favorites, which is why, coming back to the thing you brought up, I'll probably still end up on the Timberwolves, even if I sort of think the Warriors would beat them, because I think the odds are going to really, I think the odds will have us all in the Timberwolves on this series if we get there.
You mentioned the games, Brandon. The other thing is the Lakers could still stretch this series.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I think the Lakers stretch this to at least 6. I don't know if it goes beyond that, but I think we're all in agreement that Game 5, we'll see maybe a heavy free throw disparity. Maybe Luka Doncic, does what he does. Maybe it's 52 free throw attempts for the Lakers and 14 for Minnesota, something like that. But I expect the Lakers to just get Game 5. So we might have a situation where both Golden State and Minnesota are at least playing to 6-game series. So I don't know who's going to have the rest advantage there and by how much.
For those of you like me that do not have implied odds memorized, I should do it, but I just haven't done it because my brain doesn't work like that. 60%, minus 160 is 60.
Minus 150 is 60%.
Minus 160 is 61.5 via our Action Network calculators. So I would say it's going to be under 150. We'll do a dinner bet, okay? Because you already owe me one for Tatum. Minus 150 over under. You take the.
I don't need a dinner bet on guessing a minus on
It's
guessing
fun!
a minus odds number.
It's
what
fun!
book are we using? Nah, we're not.
No,
we're
do it for what Brandon's gonna bet pre-series in terms of
that's
Minnesota or Golden State. Do it for that.
All right, let's go.
May you recall, Matt Moore, the last thing we did on our last podcast before the playoffs was pick our playoff outcomes, and I picked Warriors and Timberwolves this round. And who did I pick to win in the series? I picked Timberwolves in 7.
That's true, you did.
And then losing in 5 to the Thunder. I did pick the Timberwolves before this playoff started.
Yeah, I had Lakers not looking good for your boy. I'm gonna lose all those exactas and it hurts, but it's fine. Well, let's do best bets. Before I do that, I want to let you know, Underdog.
Just real quick, 4 for the Timberwolves, by the way, because I didn't say 4 for Minnesota.
4. Wow, the man is unimpressed.
No. That
5s.
4 is really good. The problem is, I don't know. I just think with the Lakers, like I have a lot of questions about that defense, and Golden State, I have a lot fewer questions about their defense. At Oklahoma City, I have a lot fewer questions about their defense. I feel a lot better about Julius Randle. Having watched a lot of Julius Randle, I just wonder, like, are they going to keep him sober, or is he going to just revert back to who he's been at some point?
I think everybody can score on the Lakers. You're right. But the Wolves are also winning this with offense, and that's maybe the more impressive thing.
With Jaden McDaniels is the piece to me where I'm like, if he's this, then I'm looking at the Thunder series, and I'm like, ooh, what?
Nas has been incredible
Yeah.
in his minutes. The small ball lineups versus Nas Reed have gotten eviscerated. It's been bad. And that's not just based off of the stats. Like I went back and watched, like that's what stands out to you. It was like that's where Nas is killing them. Is the Lakers are like, we're gonna go small in your small ball lineup. And Nas Reed's like, I am huge and I can shoot threes, and you're all slow.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm most impressed by Indy and Minnesota. That's where I'm at.
Underdog just became one of the best places to make picks during the basketball playoffs with their extender promo. With the extender, you can play your way to increasingly bigger boosts each round of the playoffs. Start a playoff series by using your game one boost and continue boosting each subsequent game to unlock the next one. The longer the series, the bigger the boosts. Underdog is one of the leading sports apps, and you can play right now in your state. Their app has over 100,000 five-star reviews and millions of players. To play, all you have to do is download the app and choose whether a player will go higher or lower on one of their stats. You can choose from things like points, assists, and so much more. If you listen to this on Monday when this comes out, well, we gave out Davion Mitchell points and assists as a higher mark for that one. I will also point to Tuesday's games, and I do think that there's some numbers to go for the lower amount in those games as well, especially if we're going to look at, well, Jalen Duren higher on 2.5 assists, obviously. But I also think that there's a good possibility that Karl-Anthony Towns does have a little bit of a regression game. And if that happens, I think that maybe going lower on his might be a good call. Download the Underdog app and sign up with promo code Buckets100 to unlock a special offer of up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you make your first deposit. That's promo code Buckets100. You must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply, void in Colorado. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. In Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT-STEP to 53342. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Fellas, let's do some best bets for Tuesday, April 29th in the NBA playoffs. Let's go around the horn. We'll give the best bets, then we'll go back and do the cap. Bryan Fonseca, what are your best bets for Tuesday?
Karl-Anthony Towns over 1.5 threes. Hopefully they don't have to be flukish. And Pacers -7.5.
Love it. Brandon Anderson, your bets.
I'm going to take Kevin Porter Jr. over 17.5 points and rebounds, just at -115. I got a few escalators on that. I will go to Clippers Nuggets, and I'm going to take series bets here the rest of the way. I'm going to take the Nuggets in the series. I'm going to go Nuggets in 6 or 7. I'll kind of build out the position when we get there. And then the bet that you guys got to hear last second before we hit record. I'm not backing down, guys. I'm a stubborn mofo. Detroit Pistons 16-1 to win the series outright against the fraudulent New York Knickerbockers.
Generational hater. Just salute, sir. In the hater core, Brandon Anderson is a general. I mean, just incredible stuff to double down like this. Brandon told, like,
I'm on quadruple or quintuple down by now.
I asked Brandon before the show for best bets. He dropped that one. And Brian just starts cackling, and I just start screaming, "Oh my God!"
You wanted him to save it. You wanted him to not reveal it until now.
I mean, hey, what do I always say? If you want to buy low, you don't get to buy in a comfortable place.
Mm-hmm.
Let's let that one breathe a little bit. Let's do Pacers -7.5, Brian.
Milwaukee looks like the team who keeps getting pummeled on the ropes, can't get out of the way of any forthcoming combination, and is looking at the referee to stop the fight because they don't want to quit. It just looks like it's done. Damian Lillard, unfortunately, has torn his Achilles, and I mean, even with him, it was difficult. I felt like, I don't know if they rushed him back, but coming off the blood clot situation and jumping into playoff basketball was obviously not going to be easy. I had questions about how much he was going to help, and now this is very, worrisome to a smaller point guard who scores a ton of points, who's in their 13th season, who has been playing a lot of games throughout his career, hasn't had serious injuries like that. Like, this is the worst time to tear your Achilles. if you're an NBA guard with tenure. And we have questions about Milwaukee's future, but that's going to be for the offseason. But I think they're just ready to go. And I think Indiana at home, I'm probably going to look at first half as well. This just feels like a game that, like other games have in the series, could get out of hand in favor of Indiana, who is not just running up and down the floor anymore because if people haven't seen them that much this season, they could also defend reasonably well at times. They're a top half defense in the NBA. In the playoffs, they're not like an elite defense compared to some of the other defenses, some of whom we've talked about, like OKC, like Minnesota, for example, and even like Golden State. But they're a pretty good defense, and Milwaukee just doesn't have a lot to account for. Kyle Kuzma, that trade has been a bust, and Kyle Kuzma is not at all the player he was even last season. And then you just look up and down the roster for the Milwaukee Bucks. It's like it's Giannis versus everybody, and the everybody that he's playing against is a well-rounded team. I think Andrew Nembhard, who I'm probably going to buy in again on most improved player stock for next season, he seems to be only jumping in the playoffs. But like the Indiana, it's a lot. And this is why people think Tyrese Halliburton is overrated, is because he doesn't get the gaudy numbers and quote unquote carries his team to the championship. But like they have a bunch of good players on this Pacers team. And this is something that we identified last year too, as they were going on this run, which people thought was fraudulent. And I get why. They had some injury luck as well. But this is a team that also lost like all their backup centers to start the year. They looked like they were going to go into a little bit of a tailspin. They turned it around. They still hit their win total over despite their lackluster start. And they're a real team. And I think they're going to put Milwaukee away here.
So I pulled up Game 5, down 3-1, road dogs, or all variations of home, away, favorites, etc. Road dogs, 32, 25, and 2, 56% ATS since 2003. But Brian very smartly asked me, what happens if they did and did not cover in Game 4? And this is actually a massive split here. If they covered in Game 4, they're 14, 6, and 1, 70% ATS. If they didn't, this is in round 1, by the way. If they didn't cover in round 1, or in Game 4 rather, 18, 19, and 1, 49% ATS. So there's no value unless they've shown that they're in the series, and the Bucks have shown that they aren't. So I'm going to pass on taking. I wanted to kind of like dabble with the Bucks here, but I'm going to go ahead and pass. I think Pacers is in fact the right side with the Dame news and everything else. Brandon Anderson, since we're on this game, give me the KPJ cap.
Yeah, just to comment on the Dame thing, because that kind of basically leads into the KPJ. Turns 35 in July. He's owed $54 million next year to not play, presumably at this point. Not his fault, but that's just how it's going to be. He's got a $59 million player option the year after that he will absolutely be picking up. So no Dame next year. If he's back, 37-year-old Brook Lopez and Kyle Kuzma, that's Giannis' supporting cast. Like,
Giannis may not be there.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying. Like, I know that we've done the crying wolf thing for years with Giannis, and I know how everyone hates that in the media. Like this might be it, and quite frankly, it might kind of give Milwaukee an excuse to pull the ripcord. The problem is they don't even control their own picks until I think 2031. So it's bad, and it's going to get really ugly. This, I think, is the end of an era. I think this is a pretty meaningless Game 5. And if it's a meaningless Game 5, is that the sound of a Kevin Porter Jr. legacy game? I think it is. Over 17.5 points and rebounds. He was lighting it up at the end of the season. The last 5 games with no Dame, when he started playing bigger minutes, he was averaging 20 points, 6.5 boards, 6 assists. So my one note I made coming into this game is, okay, what KPJ overs do I want? The assists, I don't really need the assists there. Like, his line's about right on the assists. The rebounds line is 4.5. He's been at like 6.5. So that's why I'm adding in the rebounds, just kind of add some volume. He should start probably and get starter minutes here. He's scoring. He's going to get the shots up. I think he's going to play plenty and get his shots up. He had this last game that he just played, which was effectively a no Dame game, 23, 5, and 6. In Game 1 was 12, 5, and 5. That's when he started with no Dame in that game. So over these last 7 games, so not counting Game 2 and 3, because Dame's playing the full minutes there and Kevin Porter Jr. goes down. But if you exclude those two, he's hit the over 17.5 PR all but one, and he had 17 in the other one. So he gets hooked on one. He averages 25.9 points plus rebounds versus this line of 17.5. So I think the line is pretty far off with the way he's been playing. And then I would love to have like a points plus rebounds escalator just to count the rebounds in there. But let's be honest, if he goes way over this, it's because KPJ got his shots up. So 20 plus points is plus 375 at Bet365. 20 plus is not a lot. He has hit that in 5 of the 7 games I'm talking about. 24, 20, 21, 20, and then 23 just this last game. 20 plus points at plus 375. And then if you want to get a little irresponsible and have some fun, 25 points is 11-1. 30 points is 22-1. 30 is not a ton. KPJ can score 30 in a game that gets away from him. 35 points is 40-1. It's the highest line I found. I'm probably going to sprinkle all the way up, but I'll take the over points and rebounds 17.5 and the main escalator on the 20 plus points at plus 375.
It's a good cap. I'm wearing my Buck shirt today as solidarity because I feel bad for Dame because that sucks.
That's kind.
That's really horrible. It sucks for him. And it's, no one chooses how these things go, man. It just sucks. By the way, you mentioned the Bucks don't control their own picks. 2 teams that control a lot of picks that aren't theirs are the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Houston Rockets. So just something to start with that conversation as much as
Brooklyn Nets too.
Yeah, but I still am.
Who I don't recall. Do you recall who owns the Bucks picks? Is that Phoenix or is it not Phoenix, right? No, they don't have picks. Is it OKC or Houston? That like is there a trade partner
just
that
like
could trade for
just
Milwaukee's picks back?
I like it because you're just like, I just assume that the Thunder have everybody's picks because they have everybody's picks. Their 2025 first round pick goes to Brooklyn. Their 2026 first round goes to New Orleans. It's a swap. Their 2027 goes to New Orleans or Atlanta. Their 2028 goes to Portland or Washington. With another pick coming back in that one. Their 2029 goes to Portland or Washington. Their 2030 goes to Portland.
Okay.
So
Portland is the main answer there. Like you look for the team, like who could they do a trade with to get their own pick control back? Like we've seen a couple teams do. I'm not sure Portland's the answer for that.
Well, New Orleans was there a couple times for the Drew Holiday trade. I mean,
yeah.
I'm not saying Giannis for Zion, but I mean, hey. So it feels like someone's going to take a swing at Zion.
Bring a Zion to the beers and brats in Milwaukee. It does not sound like the great idea to me.
Well, and also they're not going to do Giannis like that and send him to New Orleans.
Yeah, that's
like
true.
He gets to choose where he goes, which is why it's probably going to be the Clippers, or the Warriors. Those are like the top 2, unless John Horst walks into a coffee shop where Rob Pelinka is, and then we know how that ends.
That's been my like tracker of player stuff for like 3 years. I've had in there that Giannis would be a Laker by 2026. That is my nihilist fear of where this is all headed. And I still think that he becomes the LeBron replacement. And we were watching Luka and Giannis play in gold and purple together soon enough.
I don't want Knicks Pistons. I don't want side or total. Oh, by the way, Bucks Pacers. I'll probably be on Aaron Nesmith over points. Aaron Nesmith over points. Andrew Nembhard over points for half a unit. Those have both been really like Nembhard finally went over when I didn't play him in Game 4, which is annoying because he's had the shot profile is what the Pacers are figuring out. The Bucks the Pacers made big adjustments in Game 4, and that's a big reason why that game got out of hand almost immediately. I'm going to like that quite a bit. By the way, I will not like Nembhard in the next round. That's going to be a very tough series, I think, for him to score in. Just anecdotally. That's a first thought. I haven't dug deep into the tape, but I think that's probably going to be where I'm at. Knicks Pistons. Jalen Duren over 2.5 assists. What do you want? What do you want from me? It's 3 straight. So 3 straight. The first one we lost on the hook. Again, they have to, in certain lineup combinations, send 2 at Cade. And Duren has shown very reliably the ability to do the quick dump off pass for dunk or the kick to the corner. The other thing I thought was interesting is like they're running a lot more DHO. So I should have thought this through. This should have been honestly part of my cap. If you're struggling to score without Cade, one of the easy mechanisms to do is just run a DHO with your center. Just run a DHO and you'll be able to generate some pretty clean looks for three. And they did that. And Beasley missed, everything for
All
the
of
first three
them.
games,
Fuck.
and then started to actually hit in game 4. I think he's seen enough go down. The side here at plus 5.5, it would be Pistons or nothing. It would be Pistons or nothing for me. But given the history, because technically the Pistons did not cover game 4, even though it was razor thin, I don't want to go ahead and go in on it because they might have had their spirits broken. The Knicks wrap this up. It would be Pistons or nothing for me on this one, though. Would be my side on.
I want to say
Pistons.
one thing about this.
Okay.
Because Malik Beasley, I was on his over multiple games, and he keeps getting all the shots, and he keeps not getting the over. So I'm probably not going to do it this game, but I fully expect this to be the game where he gets 20 again, and he hits 6 threes, and it annoys the shit out of me. Last game, it was also a hook. He had 13. He was heating up at the end, and they sat him in favor of Tim Hardaway Jr., Dennis Schroeder, Tobias Harris, Cade Cunningham, and Jalen Duren, which I understand from a basketball standpoint. But from a selfish standpoint, I would have liked to have seen Malik Beasley end that game. Needed 13.5 over, and he got 13. So there it is.
This is not hard to figure out. Karl Anthony Towns over 1.5 threes.
Yep.
I did not tail. I don't know why I didn't tail it in game 4. I thought it was coming, but I played it once this series and was so irritated he didn't take any that I stayed away. Tell me why you went back in on Cat 1.5 threes, Brian.
2 straight, he's gotten this. It's all the attempts. It's just the attempts. Like when he doesn't get it, typically it's not because he's 1 for 6. It's because he's 1 for 3. Usually that's how that goes. Not all the time, but usually that's how that goes. Last game he was 5 for 7, albeit a couple of them were kind of bullshit. But regardless, he still got them like in rhythm. Before that, he was well over 1.5 threes, and before that, 4 for 8. They need him to stretch the floor. And I think if you're going to put Jalen Duren on him, which they haven't done a ton of, we'll get to that in a second. But if you're going to put Jalen Duren on him in spurts, like this is where he has been able to use his quickness to get to the basket, or rather Jalen Duren's lack of lateral quickness to get to the basket. And at times, like Jalen Duren will give him the shot, and other times Cat just gets the grenade and he could just put it up. Like they're able to generate those looks and he's able to get them. It's when they put Tobias Harris on him. Now, the Pistons have had Tobias Harris guard him a good amount this series. They've been content with putting Tobias Harris on Cat and just sort of daring him to take Tobias Harris to the basket. And he's done a better job of scoring these last couple of games. The Pistons they haven't been always early to help, but there are times where Jalen Duren is in the paint and they've guarded him well, and he's had to pass out of a double team or pass out of Jalen Duren, just sort of creeping behind Tobias Harris, getting ready to double team Karl Anthony Towns. So it's just a matter of getting Karl Anthony Towns looks on the perimeter. They've done a better job of doing that the last couple of times. If he's able to get 4, really 5+ attempts, then I feel great about him going over 1.5 threes again. It's the games where he's taking just 2 or 3 threes. And honestly, in game 2, the Pistons did a really good job of like, all right, Tobias, go ahead. And Cat didn't do shit in that second half. So I do worry about, is this a game where the Pistons make it rain from 3 after falling apart last game and just sort of steal one at the Garden, or really get one at the Garden, because they've had at least one game stolen from them this series? And is this a game where Karl Anthony Towns disappears again? So this is why I'm hesitant to take the points, even though he's gone over in 3 or 4. But to me, the threes, they need the stretchability, and he's been getting these looks, especially with Isaiah Stewart out.
Brian, what's the juice on the over 1.5?
I think I got it minus 120.
Yeah, that's a crazy line when he's getting 7 and 8 up. I feel like you got to be playing like the 3 and 4 makes also then.
It just depends, because he has these games where like he's 0 for 2. He has these games where he just doesn't shoot a ton. I got it at minus 130. So right now it might not even be. It might not even be better.
I think that one will be getting bet up. So, but I like it. Yeah. It's a good play.
I'm looking at DK, and Towns 2+ is minus 145, 3+ is 205, 4+ is 550. So that's the scaling on that. Brandon, Pistons plus 1,600 in the series, 3-1.
It's a bad number. You gotta play the bad numbers. You gotta play the bad numbers, and that's how you win money when you bet. I made the cap at the top. The Knicks are fraudulent, and the Pistons aren't a whole lot less. But we've played 4 coin flip games. Let me help you with math. If the Pistons win 3 times, they have to win 3 coin flips. 3 coin flips is 12.5%. That's plus 700. We're getting plus 1,600. Okay, fine. They're not actual coin flips. Here's how the games have gone. Knicks by 1, that the Pistons should have won. Knicks by 2, that's a coin flip. Pistons by 6, mostly a coin flip. Knicks by 11, okay, not a coin flip. No, the Pistons were ahead most of the game and played 3 or 4 terrible minutes. Coin flip. 4 coin flip games. Detroit could have swept the series by now. It's not coin flips going forward. 2 of them are in New York. It's a road game 7 for a young team if they get that far. So I have priced that in. I make the Pistons 9.5% to win the series. It's not high. They're probably going to lose. 16-1 is just under 6%. I'm sorry, that is the wrong number. I am stubborn. I play numbers. And the Knicks are getting nothing from their bench. And Jalen Brunson just like rolled his leg up and is a threat to be injured at any point. If he gets injured from a bunch of coin flip games, you got to like Detroit a lot at that point. I think the series still has a chance to go further than it's expected. I actually show slight value on Knicks in 7 also. That's at 7-1 at BetMGM. That's 12.5%. I have that at 15.5%. You like the home team in game 7. I always give them a little more credit than the books do. 16-1 is a bad number. I'm not going crazy here. I'm not dropping multiple units on it. It's for the brand, but Detroit Pistons, 16-1. I'm not giving up on you yet, Detroit. It's me and you.
Love it. I will say how amazing this will be if he pulls this off. Teams that have started the series with home court advantage, the higher seed, that are up 3-1, first round all time, 59-0 in winning the series. Be the first team without home court advantage to come back from a 3-1 series in NBA history.
And wouldn't the Tibbs Knicks be the first team to be up 3-1 and blow it? Wouldn't they be the answer?
I can't argue with you on that. I'm on Clippers money line, and Clippers -2 is now in the market. I'm fine with any number that you get it at. This is like very simple. I've nailed the last 4 games on this series. Like, I understand this series very well in terms of the game-to-game stuff. I started out on Nuggets in 7. I moved to Clippers in 6 by the end of the week. I still like Clippers in 6. If you can get Clippers in 6, you should bet that. There's like a plus there. On Buckets Live last night, a listener, I think it was James Buchanan, told us, and we shared it on the show. If you go to BetMGM and you do the series exact order, so it's already, the 4 have already been decided, and then Clippers, you get a better price than Clippers in 6. And you can get it at like plus 240, 250, which is really great. That to me is an excellent, that may be gone by the time that this you hear this, but that to me is
Clippers in 6 was plus 240 at BetMGM like an hour ago.
Yeah, it was. They may have stabilized that price against the exact order, but check the exact order outcome for that as well, just to be able to see what that looks like, because that was a really sharp snipe by our guy on Twitter. Yeah, they've stabilized it to plus 240. So BetMGM plus 240, Clippers in 6. The Nuggets have been outplayed in the series. The Nuggets have been tougher. The Nuggets have been outplayed in the series. Like, they've been outplayed. The Clippers are a better, deeper team. I think they were probably due for a Kawhi half, if not a full game. He's probably going to get one more. Income in 5 or 6. The Nuggets are probably going to have another turnover game. Murray, I think, is actually playing pretty well. He's just shooting badly, but that's not really enough to get me on board with the Nuggets. I don't think Jamal can really win them a game, because if he plays a great game and Harden or Kawhi plays a great game, if Jokic is able to just take this approach that he had in game 4, if he's figured them out and just attacks, that changes the equation here. But I'm willing to risk it. I'm gonna take Clippers -2, and on the money line, I also like Chris Dunn under 6 points. They have realized that it's not okay. So the big key here is not that the Nuggets have just played Chris Dunn off the floor and they are getting killed in his minutes now. It is that Ty Lue is able to recognize we don't need him. We can get away with Nick Batum and just play a little bit bigger. We're okay against this Nuggets team. You're not dealing with speed, so they don't need to play Chris Dunn as much. And he's still likely to miss threes. Under 5.5 points is going to be another one of my bets for a game.
I saw that one coming a mile away. I actually looked that one up in advance because I was like, I know Matt's going to be fading Chris Dunn. I wanted some Nick Batum overs or Nick Batum angle for a similar reason. What I really want is I want Nick Batum series threes leader. If you can find that. This series market is up for threes, but not Nick Batum. He's only 2 off the lead right now, and he's getting them up pretty quickly when he's actually on the court. He's got that no dip 3 from the corner that's just been killing him. So keep an eye out for that. I don't think I'd play that necessarily game to game, but just as a long shot series leader bet in a market that's very close.
Real quick, Nuggets 6 or 7. Why?
So trends like the Clippers in Game 5. They support your Clippers pick. Here's a couple trends for you from Bet Labs. When the series is tied 2-2 going to Game 5, favorites of 5 or less since 2008, 26-10 against the spread, 72%. So that's good for the Clippers. Favorites in 2 straight, meaning you were favored on the road, you're favored at home. That matters. 36-21-1 ATS, 63%. So the trends like the Clippers here. So why am I betting the Nuggets? Because it's a bad number. I think that the Nuggets and the Clippers are relatively even. I think the Clippers have to be seen as the slightly better team so far right now. But if you shop around and look at books and look at kind of what you were saying, look at the exact series outcomes, look at the series pricing versus the in 6 versus in 7 pricing, it is wild, the prices that you're seeing in different books. Some books think that this could go to 7. Some think it's going to be only 6. Some think if it does go to 7, it's a coin flip game. Some put it pretty heavily on the home team. And those things are wildly swinging the numbers here. I make the series right now, Denver 56%, Clippers 44. Because I think that they're very close. And I still get Denver home in Game 5. And here's the scenario set up for me. I'm thinking just zoomed out big picture. I have Denver ever so slightly favored in Game 5 because they're at home and you have Nikola Jokic. I have it 52%, basically a coin flip. I have the Clippers clearly favored in Game 6, but the most definite outcome for me, if we get there, is Denver in Game 7. At home, in altitude, against a Clippers team that doesn't have a lot of depth. They're running out of bodies. I have Denver a clear favorite at home in Game 7, as I pretty much always will have a home Game 7. And here's the thing to remember. We have not had the legacy Jokic game yet this series, which is crazy because he just had like a 36-21-8, and it was just like, yeah, pretty good game for Jokic. No, we've not had like the Jokic just wins it on his own game. It's coming. You know what else we haven't had? We haven't had the legacy Harden game. It's coming, and it's not a good one. Harden Game 6 is just hanging out there, waiting around for another 2 of 11 performance. And if it gets to Game 7, you get Jokic, or you get Harden, or you get whatever Kawhi might happen to do, which we've talked before. We've talked up Kawhi for all the good playoff things. Kawhi is not reliable, and Kawhi has had some tough Game 7s, and Kawhi does not stay healthy in these series. If Denver loses Game 5, they have their backs against the wall for Game 6 on the road, and no team has played better in recent years with their backs against the wall when they're counted out than Jokic and the Nuggets. That is where they love to be. So either Denver wins at home Game 5, and now I at least get a Game 7 at home, or Denver goes down after Game 5, and I get their backs against the wall where they've been counted out with their interim coach and a shot to get to Jokic in Game 7. If I get Jokic at home in altitude in Game 7, I'm going to like it. So, Nuggets in 6 at FanDuel is plus 540. Nuggets in 7 at Bet365 is plus 350. If I split my unit, I get both of those together at 38%, implied plus 165. That is implied 38% to my 56%. That is a clear advantage for me on the numbers. That's a huge advantage. So even if I'm off a little bit, I still have to like that a lot. It's partly that I think books are pricing it poorly with the numbers all over the place, and a little sprinkle on exact outcome, which I don't do very often. I'm with you, Matt, on Game 5. I'm taking the exact outcome. Clippers Game 5, Nuggets to close. That's at DraftKings at 10-1. I think the Clippers clip. I think the Clippers go and be the better team and get the Game 5 and think they won the series. I think the Clippers clip again in Game 6. And Harden Game 6 shows up, and the Clippers choke one away, and Jokic at home in Game 7 does the thing. Before the series, I talked about one-man teams don't make runs in the playoffs. The examples I looked at through like 30, 40 years of history, when they actually won a series, the way they won it was Game 7 with the legacy game by the dude. I'm picking the legacy game by the dude. The numbers are in the favor for the bet.
I hate you because now I've looked at my numbers and I have Nuggets in 7 at 30%, 232 versus a plus 400. So I have to bet Nuggets in 7. I hate you. We're out of time. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate you guys being with us. Make sure to check out youtube.com/Action Network. Buckets live on Wednesday night. Bryan Fonseca at Bryan Fonseca MY on Twitter, and in the Action Network app, Bryan Fonseca on YouTube. Brandon Anderson at Wheaton Brando in the Action Network app. My thanks to David Payne, Gifford Gould, and the crew. We'll see you guys again next time. Till then, let's get buckets.